it's been interesting as we've gone through this. What, when you talk with people and you hear all different ways that people are personalizing and customizing and all that, you're in a principal position, not a classroom position. Um, how do you see the different approaches of the teachers, and yet still, even with different approaches, they seem to make it into a program? How does that work, or what does it look
A lot of faith. A lot of faith that you've got good people doing the right thing for kids,
like? Uh-huh.
and organizing and getting them what they need at the right time, what they need when they need it.
Yeah.
Because, we look at our team in our middle college, Aero Academy team of teachers, facilitators, and they're a wide variety of backgrounds and experience and just strategies for teaching are all different. From a very first year teacher who started with us to a teacher who had a couple years of experience in a small school and basically taught everything in that content area. To teachers that have 15, 18, 20 years of experience and have been in several different schools. So it's quite a wide range of experience. You support them and you trust that they will have the best interests of kids in mind. And when they say, I was thinking I might try this, say, well, let's do it. Let's find out. Let's give it a go. So why not?
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever they ask, we'll just say, why not?
When you look at parents and their perceptions about programs like this, and it's different than how I learned and all that.
Mm-hmm.
What's been the biggest holdback for parents on this, or the biggest concerns that they've expressed to you?
Well, I think that probably the biggest concern that they have expressed is that there has not been a lot of direct instruction, the typical traditional classroom, stand and deliver. And what we've worked on is the conversations about what teaching and learning really truly is. If teaching is me spewing something out and you just telling it back to me in some kind of assessment and then we move on, is that real teaching and real learning? Or is it something better than that or different than that? And so as they look at how we're doing what we're doing, I think they're saying, the learning is much deeper and richer, even though the teaching is different than what we've done. And we struggled a little bit at the beginning where they were saying that there's not a lot of teaching happening. My students, they're not teaching my students. Not a lot, just a little bit, because it was different. And so the conversation really kind of goes to, at some point, we don't just give them all of the content, but we tease them with a little bit of the content, and then we let them do some discovery of more of the content and make meaning of it. And then that learning's a lot deeper and richer. And so they've come along nicely with that. Now, I'll tell you, probably the biggest hang-up they have now is we start talking about standards-based grading and getting away from letter grading. Mm-hmm. And they struggle with that because they just can't envision how that works. I think they understand how it works, but they're concerned about what it might look like in the long run if students on a GPA or scholarship applications, not so much the learning piece at the moment, but just in the long run. So we're slowly working our way into that. We're not there yet. It'll take us a while. Partly is I don't think we're quite ready yet either. Mm-hmm. We're just not used to it either. We're so used to the point system and letter grades that eventually we'll get to that more of a rubric and a standards based. So.
But there's a lot, especially at a high school level, there's a lot of buy-in to the whole, I need my student to be 0.03 of a point ahead of in order to get this scholarship. I mean, that's got to be a tough barrier to crack, isn't it?
It really is. I would suggest that what we've seen with a lot of interest in the program has been from the gifted, talented students, which I think that is part of what they do, and they're concerned about is that I'm out in front and I want to be number one in the top. And not all of them, but in occasion. But we've struggled with them in the customized learning because we're doing it differently. They've gotten very good at doing school, and we're doing it in a different way, so they don't like that quite so well. And so we've had a few that have come into the program and said, no, it's not for me. I'm very good at doing it the old traditional way. And then go back out and do the traditional setting, and they're probably just plugging along on their very good GPA. I feel kind of worried that their learning isn't as deep as it could be. But we have several of them that have stayed in the learning The learning is deeper. The pace is faster because they're very capable and they're being very successful. So it's kind of give and take. What I like about it is the fact that the parents have the option to be able to decide if they want to do a customized setting or not. And in that customized setting, there are some give and takes. It isn't a large class. It's not stand and deliver. It's not regurgitate for the test for an assessment. It's just different, and they see the benefits in it. Our clientele in the program are the wide diversity. We have a few students in there that I think they were interested in becoming part of the program. They applied. We took a look at them on their application, which is really a simple application. We're looking for positive growth mindset, really, in kids. And can you persevere? And if they say they can, that's good. We talk to their middle school teachers and say, well, what do you think about? And we'll ask them, and they'll say, ooh, they just struggle. They do good work, but they're just not very fast, or whatever it might be. But do they have the growth mindset? Well, yeah, I think so. So we get them in the program, and they just plug along very nicely. And they maybe socially don't interact much in a regular traditional setting, but in the middle college setting, they do a very good job. So we've got a wide range. We will have some students probably that are not going to be straight A students in our program. They're going to continue to work on it. They're going to get decent grades, and they're going to have very deep, rich learning. But they're not going to tear it up and get way more credits and done faster than anyone else. But the learning is going to be very valuable. That's just the curriculum piece. Now, I'll tell you that one of the unintended consequences that we've discovered is that kids have learned how to persevere. They've learned how to go to the toolbox to figure out what to do next when they get stuck. In fact, the greatest comment, and I wish we could attribute it to one of the 4 teachers we have right now, and because I don't remember which one said it, but they said what we have learned is they now know what to do when they don't know what to do. So they know how to go to their toolbox and figure out where to go with the next step. And if they really get stuck, then they call in for help with the instructors, and they've gotten very good at that.
You kind of touched on this, but with school within a school concept like you
Right.
have, I think it's easy for people to think that you're cherry picking the kids and that. I mean, is this a broad spectrum of kids that you're working with here?
Very broad. And it says a lot, too, that as we move into, now the next year will be the 3rd year of the program, from the 2nd year to the 3rd year, we double the population. We had about 66 to start with. We had another 53. I think there's a few more that are still going to want to jump on board before we get the school year started, and we'll make the accommodations. It's good growing pains to have. We have to expand the number of our staff in there. We have to expand the space that we live in and do our work in. But it says a lot for the program because of 2 years in, the positive results and the positive conversations that the kids are having, that the parents are having, has more people thinking, maybe this is the right place for me. Not to mention a lot of the names you see that of the new group coming in are siblings of people already in the program. It says a lot.
Sure.
Even some of our students that were in the program that has said, no, it's not for me, and they've gotten out of the program, their younger siblings are coming in. So there's some benefit to it. Oh, it's good for you, not for me. That's okay. It's not a perfect fit for everybody.
Mm-hmm. From your standpoint, though, you've come a long ways, but are there certain barriers, though, that you still need to work on to truly get to the level of customization you want to get to? What are some of the things that you have to work on?
Oh, I think right now, I think we're very good at working with the students, case managing, and helping them become very self-sufficient. I think our biggest stumbling block right now is just the choices for them. If you want to look at it as the menu approach, to meet these standards that they need to meet, how many choices do they have? They're really kind of limited right now. It's really kind of just a curriculum lined up that says, okay, when you're done with this, do this next. We'd like to have more choice, and that just takes time to build. So we continue to work on building the offerings in the curriculum and the choices for kids. We've been very good at impacting the path and the pace. The time and the space we're still working on.
Okay. From your standpoint, you mentioned you're working on standard-based reporting and maybe changing the grading system and some of that. It sounds to me like it's still very course-oriented, that there's still, like you said, a linear path to where you're at. What would it look like if you could take it to where you hope it'll be in 10 years today? What would be different right now that you would change?
Yeah, it is very linear yet and very course aligned and driven. So okay, you've finished your physical science. What do I do next? Now I do chemistry next. That's kind of what's happening. It needs to be more cross-curricular. I think that we can build that, and we can envision that, but it's time intensive and to build, and we've been focused on right now in the second year having all of the offerings, the courses that we would traditionally have students do, at least available to our students in some format. One of our teachers, her goal was, as we started the year, to make sure she had U.S. history all lined up and ready for the kids, because we had traditionally 9th and 10th grade level kids, and pretty soon some of them would be moving into what juniors would normally take. Well, right out of the gate at the start of the year, a girl was saying, "I'm ready for U.S. history. Is it ready?" And she stayed ahead of her, and she's already done with the U.S. history. So it kind of pushed our staff to move a little faster. It didn't allow some time to do more cross-curricular, because I think there's a great marriage with our English standards and speech standards, along with all the other core content areas. So when you're going to do your reading and writing, why can't it be on a science topic and do your presentation on science or social studies? I think we just got to get cross-curricular in those choices, and that's where we need to go. Ultimately, I think the description that came out, kind of thing spawned out of the inevitable originally, was kind of that menu. I always refer to it as kind of the Amazon type of scenario, where as you're working in your work, all of a sudden in Amazon it'll pop up, well, here's what other people books they bought because of the one you're looking at. They also bought this one. Well, I think that we need to have an education piece that does that too. That said, now, you're just now finishing your science standards in biology, and you really could look forward to doing some chemistry standards. And here's where you could go, and some possible ways you could do that. I see by your learning styles assessment, you're a kinesthetic learner. Here's an activity you could do to get started on these standards in science. That's where I'd like to see it to be. And it's going to take some time to build that. Somebody maybe have built that and would like to borrow it if they have it. We'd like to test it out.
Now, within a school setting like this, you've got the traditional and the customized going on. As an administrator, that's got to be a little bit of a schizophrenic existence. How do you keep it where you're still all one staff, even though you have two very different programs?
I don't think it's difficult at all, because those that see the value in the customization can do that even within their own classroom. Differentiation, customization, call it what you want. I think the struggle is for those that are really rigidly solid, saying, how can I possibly differentiate and customize for 25 people in my room all at one time? And I'll be honest, as secondary educators, we've not really been trained how to do that. Elementary teachers are great at it. They have different reading groups at different reading levels, and they do that all the time within the elementary classroom. We just are not good at that yet. However, I would say that if we looked and said that middle college was the only customization we had going on in our school building, we would be sorely underestimating our abilities, because we have customization happening all over the place. Our credit recovery program, our academic resource center, alt-ed programming, we customize all the time for them. In fact, we were doing that before we even started our middle college program. And really it was for kids that were struggling the most. We wanted a customization piece for the kids that were really right in the middle. Not the gifted and talented necessarily that are already out running ahead of the other kids, not the special education students with their own IEP, but some kids in the middle with their own plan too. And so that's what we did to begin that. But between our alt-ed programming and our customization, and I would say our middle college, I think we have some customization in the classroom too. I would guess that it's better than a third of our students, and probably hedging in on half of our students have had some kind of customized experience. I would like to say that it'd be way more than that by the time we get 10 years down the road.
Sure. Yeah.
Will it truly, every student, have a full customized experience? I don't know that we'll get there. we'll keep pushing that way. But I don't know we'll get there.
It sounds like you're trying to see customized as more the norm as opposed to the minority.
Absolutely. And honestly, I think the best way you do that too is you give staff the opportunity to do that. You just give them the latitude, and when they say, well, I really want to try this, let's do it. Okay, why not? Okay, I think this would be good for kids. Can I try that? Why not? Let's do it. If you push them and say, I want you to do this, you need to do it, and you're going to do it tomorrow, they'll go, I don't think so. You can't make me. So I've rather than heavy-handed, I pull them along saying, no, wouldn't this be great if you could do this? Well, I don't know how to do that. Well, there are people that would be willing to help you do that, and start small. Start small and build it. I like Inevitable and the customized, the mass customized learning. I love that concept. I'm a true believer that we build it piece by piece, little by little, and rather than come in full boat and do it with everybody. I think when we've seen things grow grassroots, and when it starts at that level, it just builds to get stronger. I think that's where we are. That's our school and our clientele.
From an administrator standpoint, how is evaluating teachers and that whole process of looking at what they do and evaluating, how do you have to rethink that now in a customized environment? How does it look different?
I don't really have to rethink it much. We have a great evaluation process right now. It's not the Charlotte Danielson model, but it's a similar model to that, where we really have a rubric and we're looking for some indicators of what's happening in the classroom. It's just a different observation. It's not going to the classroom and stand and deliver, get kids busy on an activity. It's more interpersonal communications with students, helping them when they need it. A look at, just say, show me your caseload, what's happening with the kids you're working with. It's just you're just looking at some different things. I think it matches just fine. Okay. We also, the great latitude with that is, we have this evaluation process, professional growth rubric is what we title it. There's also a goal setting module within it too. If we have staff that are in a completely different setting, I said, well, let's set a goal and work to achieve that goal. So there's ways to do the evaluation. I think it's very powerful work that they're doing. That's just different work than what we used to do.
What kind of skills do you need to look for in teachers, though, in this kind of environment that might be different in a traditional?
Flexibility. Just got to be willing to do whatever it takes, being flexible. Just interviewed a nice young lady here this afternoon, and we had that very conversation and talked about flexibility. And she comes with some skills of already doing some of those things. And I will tell you that when we looked at the staff that we first brought on board in Middle College, the four teachers there, one was a brand new teacher, and he just worked in the traditional setting, but he said, I can see the power in it, so he was ready to come in. The young lady who worked in a small school already was differentiating and customizing, because she had students in math at all levels in one room in a small school. So she was already doing what we do. And then the other teachers have had some experience because they had been in the classroom long enough to know that. So I look for the flexibility, relationship building, some organization, just being able to manage the caseloads, but and being a good communicator, because it's really what it comes down to. Content knowledge, I believe truly in their preparation to be a teacher. They've done some work in the content and some work in some of the pedagogy. May not completely apply here, but I think there's some good things they come in with already. Soft skills, I guess maybe you can say, it's in dealing with teenagers and keeping them organized, being able to motivate them and engage them in activities. All skills that we had to grow into as we became teachers.
From your standpoint, are there things about customized learning that if a school's going to jump in, here's some direction you would give them, or
wow, yeah, the good
things
advice
to avoid? What advice would you give?
The good advice, you get your good people on the team that can think and dream big and have that mindset to do whatever it takes to help kids be successful, and then start planning, okay, how can this work? What can we do? And just start building it from the ground up, saying, all right, well, if we did this, how would that work with kids, and how would that benefit? And honestly, you have to say, how does that work within the weight-bearing walls of the system as it exists? Because we can't just tear those out. So we have to navigate around those walls, and we haven't completely removed them. We've navigated around them, and we can make it work.
Is there anything I should have asked you on this? Something
Well,
you're just dying to tell us.
I'm trying to think. Well, I think it would be nice if I could get in the time capsule and move 10 years ahead and see, and then backward planning, backward design, that'd be great. We ventured into this, and I know we've met some resistance in places because it's different. And they just like, I want to know that it's going to work and it's going to be the best thing we've ever done for kids. There's no guarantees. In fact, the conversation was, I want to make sure that the students that are in this program are not harmed, so that when they leave us and go out in the real world into college, that they'll be successful and not fall flat. Well, no guarantees. But what we can guarantee is we love these kids. We're going to do anything we can to make them be successful. We're going to help them grow in their learning much deeper than they were before. They're going to meet all the standards and the credentials and things they need to have a high school education. And hopefully they'll leave us with that and some really good tools to be successful no matter what they do. Sure. And they looked at me and they said, okay, I think you got their best interest in mind. Yes, we do. And that's the whole point. If we can have their best interest in mind, we're going to do the right thing for them.
Sure.
I got a question.
Yeah.
From a leader's perspective and as an administrator, what are some skills and qualities that you found you really needed as a leader in the school in supporting this new learning environment?
Oh, that's a good one. The struggles that I've had in doing this and taking it from a leadership standpoint really is, I know that our staff have the best interest of kids in mind, but also as a leader, I can't just say, all right, here you go, go run, go do it, and I need to be right there with them, and I don't want to say hold their hands, but link arms and be in the fight with them and in the battle, and not just trust that they'll figure it out on their own, but be there to help them when the going gets tough. Same thing they're doing with the kids is what I need to do as a leader. I need to help them with the tools to persevere. And if it's not working right, what can we do? Brainstorm, we'll figure it out, and let's move on from there. So that was some of the struggles in the first year of this program, is I thought, oh, good, here we go, we got it going. And I was off dealing with all the other things that you deal with as you get a school year running. And I kind of left them, it was kind of like, here we go, and the gun went off, and we're out of the blocks, running the race, and I just let them run, and I just stopped, and and they kept running, and pretty soon they're looking around, where is he? And I just kind of left them standing there, and hard lesson for me. It was tough for them, and I've promised them at this point, I'm not going to leave them standing there. I'm going to be with them the whole way. And I want to be able, I promise that for all of my staff. And that's a hard thing in leadership, is to be able to give everybody everything they need at the time they need it. Mm-hmm. When you have 100 staff, it's a difficult thing to do. Yep. But I have their best interest in mind, so I'll do everything that I can for them too. So
that's interesting, because I interviewed Kevin Lane a couple times.
Yeah.
And some of those same things he's talking about, the flexibility, the perseverance, both at at a leadership level, at a teacher level, and then the students as well. Everybody needs to be.
It really is.
Yeah.
My favorite quote that I've used for years, and I used to have it written on everything and phone over, is it was, blessed are those who are flexible, for they won't get bent out of shape. And there'd be days when I would go, oh, I'm getting bent about this. I got to be flexible. So you support your good people. You support all of your people, but you give your good people extra kudos, prop them up, keep them going, walk the walk with them, and don't leave them standing there. And hard lessons for me, but we're there now, and I'm glad to be there.